Hello and welcome to this Stampscapes Replay. It's where I'm finishing off this half-page scene of this covered bridge rendering. I previously stamped that out on some different cardstocks and did it in different colors just as an example to kind of compare and contrast some different ways you can finish off that image. And I really like the way that the colors came out, so I wanted to finish it in a complete scene. This is on a semi-gloss cardstock. Okay, now what we've done here is we've stamped out our cloud cumulus imagery and art foamy version of the Stampscapes Rocky Peaks in blue tones, and we've added in some additional grass textures below. And now what we're doing is we're sandwiching that background mountain in between another layer of the cloud cumulus. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to be stamping out that quote stamp kind of to the left of the mountain. So I'm going to kind of create some framing, I guess, with this cloud here, leaving that spot next to the mountain for that quote to come. Okay, now I've used the maple pear image to fill out some additional trees. And now we have this area of warmth in the landscape down below, and then kind of for the most part that sky area up above, and I kind of include that mountain in that sky area. That area up above is done in cool tones, so what I did was I layered some of the warm base layer color in both the mountain and area down below that I'm finishing off. Now we're following up here with some blue tones up above. I didn't necessarily want that area up there in the sky to be warm completely, because it is going to be a cooler area, but that little bit of that warm tinge will create a temperature relationship with that warmth down below. Following up with a gray layer, it's a little bit darker than the blue that I just used, so this will be my third layer of coloring. And I am covering up a lot of that warmth, but that warmth does show through because these dye-based inks are transparent. Following up this lower area, going into it with the greens and carrying that green area of the covered bridge stamp. It does have some of that grassy area on the stamp itself, and I'm just filling that in to the surrounding area, to the edge of the card. Going in with some alcohol inks now, and coloring in that additional maple tree to the left of the bridge, and adding in a little bit of shadow depth into that meadow area with the alcohol inks. Colored pencils are really fun to use on matte or semi-gloss cardstocks, and you can really hit some shadow areas in very detailed ways with a sharp type of colored pencil. The semi-gloss papers don't have a lot of tooth to it, but they have enough. Okay, now if we want to go even brighter on our trees, we can use different types of colored acrylic paint pens. So I've colored those trees with some dye-based inks, alcohol inks. Now we're going into it with paint pens. The paint pens are really great for highlighting because you can add in lighter elements on the top of darker ones. Now, coming up here pretty soon, I'll show you where I messed up on my one of my last steps. But first, we're going to add in some white pigment ink. It gives the scene a little bit of extra textural depth in that we're adding something very soft, or giving soft areas an even softer look with this white pigment ink. It looks like a mist or something like that, or some additional very light diffused soft lighting into the scene. And it kind of embeds that covered bridge in kind of a misty field. You know, we have it going on in the background. And there's my quote stamp. I used the wrong quote. I stamped it at a little bit of an angle, and then I didn't stamp it out all the way. I was going to stick with it, but I really like this scene and the end result, so I'll show you my solution for this here in a bit. I'm going to flank that quote stamp with some of the overhanging branches here in the form of the leaves stamp. Gives it a lot of extra depth, and it frames things off really nicely. And then we're stamping out our Reed's large stamp down below. I'm doing it in a StazOn ink because I've used some colored pencils over the surface, so StazOn will stick to that waxy type of coloring with no problem. Adding in a few little red highlights. You can't really see it in this video, but it gives a little red kind of embellishment to those leaves hanging down, giving it something in common. And there's my quote stamp. I added that autumn as the second spring or something like that quote stamp there. And I just pasted it right over the old quote. That's the scene. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching.